Yeah, no, I agree. Is Donna standing with us? Yeah. Yeah, whatever you say. I'm easy.
They are. Here.
Hey, Billy. Really? No kidding.
So that's the reason I came.
Well, that's good. That's always a good reason. Constituents are a good reason. That's how this works.
We're talking about the pilot program.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Well, he wants all this through this week. You guys gonna talk? One of you? We go, one of you, one G guy? Terry, you wanna say anything?
Okay. So after.
Yeah, no, of course.
Okay, sounds good. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming. We're here today to talk about and promote a piece of legislation that's near and dear to my heart, the digital right to repair. I can tell you that I got involved with this a number of years ago when I was approached by companies in my district that were having a difficult time. They were repair shops who their business model was to repair electronic and digital equipment. What they had been learning is that some of the manufacturers and big industry were not allowing them to do their jobs. An example, you probably heard about the legislation in Massachusetts when legislation was brought forward to say that if you bought a BMW or some other vehicle and tried to go to your local repair shop to fix it, they said, no, you got to come back to our BMW dealership to get it fixed. Of course, it was going to cost 2 or 3 times more. And I don't mean to bash BMW. I love BMW. Just an example. So they passed legislation in Massachusetts to make sure that local repair could be done by the auto industry. The same thing we see in New York and other states for digital equipment, cell phones, computers, whatever the case may be. Some larger digital and electronic systems. They were going out of business, left and right. Thousands and thousands of jobs in New York State were at risk. So we introduced legislation, and we were very happy to have the majority leader in the Assembly as the sponsor in the Assembly to get the digital right to repair legislation passed. We've not been able to do it yet, but we're going to do it this year with everyone's help.
Yes.
Bottom line is when you purchase an item, you have the reasonable expectation that you own the device and the right to repair it. That's what this is all about. And with that, I would like to introduce the Majority Leader of the State Assembly, Joe Morelli.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So I'll just start by, first of all, thanking all my partners in government. Thank you, Senator Boyle, for your long-standing commitment to this issue. I grew up in a house where my dad was a pipe fitter and did electrical work, did carpentry, and we still marvel when we go back in the garage and find all the things that he repaired and rebuilt somehow. He was somebody who would never give up on anything until he somehow managed to fix it and got more useful life out of it than it could have ever been originally designed to give you. It taught me a lesson about, over the years, about the need to make sure that we retain and reuse the things that we have. I began a journey like this many, many years ago when I first came to Albany. There were questions about remanufacturing. We have a big center in Rochester at Rochester Institute of Technology that's devoted to remanufacturing, extending the life cycle of consumer products and other products, and worked very hard to make sure that the state of New York recognized the importance of that when it came to purchasing. So when Senator Boyle and I talked about this, and Bruce and others, this seemed a natural extension of the work that I've done in the past. I believe in this very, very much. That when a consumer, as Senator pointed out, when you purchase something, essentially, as long as you don't violate intellectual property, that's your piece of, whether it's a consumer good, an automobile, electronics, it really doesn't matter. When you purchase it, you own it. You have the right to repair it. You have the right to extend the life of it. And what's happened in the 21st century is the ability to embed technology which will stop it from being able to be used is such that it really takes away from consumers the choice of what they want to do with their products. You look at cell phones. I had a recent experience. One of my children had a cell phone. He's not really a child. I just describe him as a child. He should have known better. But he takes a phone, and I have a Verizon account, so his account it's my account is his. He gets, let me just put it this way, I pay for his phone. Okay, I'll just say it that way. And my mother's got a second line on my account. So he goes in, and one of the manufacturers gives him an upgrade on his phone, which, according to my son, means he's getting a free phone, which, according to his father, means I'm paying for a brand new phone, because an upgrade in that industry means you just pay for another device. I don't know what they're upgrading. Anyway, so as it turns out, the screen cracked on the phone. He brings it back to Verizon, and they say, oh, don't worry, we'll just get you another one. Well, they gave him another one, but they didn't tell him he was paying now for an entirely second device. No one bothered to say, hey, you might want to take this and just get the screen checked out. So now I'm paying for two brand new phones. One has a cracked screen, one seems to be okay. But the idea that someone would sell you without saying, hey, you have a right to repair this. You should just go to the manufacturer or go to a third party that can do this and probably charge you 1/20th or less than what it costs to buy a brand new phone, which, frankly, I'm not sure he needed a brand new phone. It just brings to mind that consumer goods are really consumers own them. You ought to have the right, when you own products, as long as, again, it doesn't violate intellectual property, you have the right to do whatever you want with it. And manufacturers who stop you by using technology in ways it's not intended to stop you from being able to be the steward of your own equipment, the things you own, is wrong. So I'm very hopeful. I appreciate my friend and colleague Donald Lepardo and Felix Ortiz being here. We're going to get this done in the Assembly. We'll continue to push on it. And I want to thank everybody in the industry who worked so hard at this to make sure that consumers get a fair return and value on the products that they own. So thanks so much for the opportunity to be here.
Thank you, Joe. And I know once we get this bill passed in the state legislature of New York, we're going to be looking for national legislation. So if anybody knows anybody running for Congress, please get their ear. And now I'd like to introduce Assemblyman Donald Lepardo.
Oh, okay. Sure. Thank you very much. Sure. I'll be very brief because we really want to hear from the professionals who know this topic best. I think Joe Morelli and I had very similar dads. My very first, earliest memories of my father, this may date me, of course, was going up to the local hardware store with the TV tubes. Yeah. There were tubes in TVs at one time. And you got to repair your own television by bringing the tubes and putting them in a tester to find out which tubes needed to be replaced. And that instilled in me for a lifetime an interest in making sure that we have the opportunity to repair the things that we have. I will add to Mr. Morelli's remarks the environmental impact. It distresses me, and it distressed my father, who also worked in solid waste management, that we would throw things out and replace them with something new rather than just trying, for those who want to repair these items. So I'm very excited on behalf of my dad, Mr. Morelli's dad, and all the others who want to do this, the professionals who care so much. I'm very hopeful we can get this done this year so we can start repairing the things we want to fix on our own. Thank you.
Thank you, Assemblyman. And now Assemblyman Felix Ortiz.
I don't have the same experience, but I will tell you this much. Let me just say that I would like to thank the Senator and the Assemblyman for introducing this piece of legislation. One of the reasons why I'm here is because I received almost about 120 emails from my district to support this piece of legislation. And it's two components of that. Number one, we have a lot of repair shop in Sunset Park. I represent Sunset Park and represent as well Red Hook and also a piece of Borough Park. It's a lot of repair shop there. And sometimes this repair shop, they come from the bottom up. They are mom and pop store. They hire like 3 or 5 people to work in their stores. And at the end of the day, and I give you a quick example, okay? Joe Morales spoke about the cell phone. I will talk about my BlackBerry. My BlackBerry broke. I still use BlackBerry. And I went to I will not mention the company, but I will say I went to the company that I'm with, and they say you can get an upgrade. I said, what does the upgrade mean? Well, you have to pay a $30 extra, and we give you a new phone. But I said, the only thing I need is to change the glass. It's broke. They put a new glass, and we cannot do that anymore. So this is just an example of what happened to me going directly to the company. Now, I went directly to a local dealer in my district, and they said, we cannot do it because they're prohibiting us from doing so. So I think this piece of legislation, not only we're talking about electronic, but we're also talking about dealership. I represent about 2 dealerships in my district, and I will tell you this much, I have probably about 101 mechanics, mom and pop mechanic in my district. They can do the BMW if you bring a Joe, your BMW, they can do yours. They can do Mercedes-Benz and so on and so forth. The bottom line at the end of the day is that these mechanics sometimes tell these people, you have to go back to the dealership because they are not giving us the pieces to do it for you. We won't be able to check the mechanics. So I'm very proud of standing here, not just only to represent the 120 emails that I got from my district, but also to support all of you and to support the Assemblyman and the Senate to make sure this legislation become to be light and we can continue to protect consumer. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Felix. And now we'll hear from Gay Gordon Byrne. Gay is the Executive Director of the Repair Association. Gay?
Hi. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. This is a great day for us. We've been getting a terrific group of people here to show what repair really is. If you have a chance to come out into the concourse and take a look, there's a whole group of us down there demonstrating all different kinds of repair, all different kinds of reuse. What happens to everything if it can't be repaired is that it winds up in the trash. And that's the real reason for the importance of this legislation is that consumers no longer have the choice to fix their stuff. And I mean stuff in a very, very general sense, because now anything with a chip inside has become impossible to repair unless the manufacturer does something very unusual, which is let you. And it used to be that they all let you, but it's turned backwards in the past 20 years. And we need to, unfortunately, ask for legislation to restore all of us the right to fix our stuff. And for 19 million or so New Yorkers, they're all going to wind up having a better life if this bill passes, because they'll be able to keep the stuff they like longer. They will probably keep it longer than the manufacturer wants, but that's their choice. It should be their choice. They bought it, they own it, and unless they do something really peculiar, it's fully legal. As the leader said, it's legal under all federal law that you can repair your stuff. We're just missing the opportunity. So I hope that you'll have a chance to come and see what repair really looks like. It's not scary. The stuff is just small. And we got lots of people. In fact, some of it's so small, you need a microscope. So I'd like to ask Jeannie, who's in the education of repair, to just speak a little bit, and then introduce some more of you.
Hi. My name's Jeannie Crowley. I'm the Director of Technology for the Ethical Culture Fieldston School. And we say it's so easy. We actually start this program with 5th graders. We do a repair tutoring center. We help students learn how to repair their own devices. And there's a couple goals for that. It helps the students connect with understanding something they hold so intimately every day, the cell phone they spend so much time with. But even more largely, we don't really think about the educational pipeline that goes into innovation. Bill Gates and Steve Jobs grew up in an environment with open repair, and like what they accomplished would not be possible if they weren't repairing as children. So it's really critical for our students to understand, how a device works so they themselves can become innovators in the future. It's a really critical component of the repair movement. So we are here to represent the educational element, and we're just so thankful that you're doing this. So thank you from all of our students.
Thank you. Dan, want to take a moment?
Hello, good morning. My name is Daniel Malpica. I'm a policy associate with the New York Public Interest Research Group. And electronics are an integral part of our daily lives. We use cell phones, laptops, tablets, smartwatches, TVs, GPSs, and so much more to navigate the physical and digital world that we live in. The history of electronics over the modern consumer era is one of the faster innovations and shorter useful lifespan. That means that more devices are discarded, and the contents are in some ways more toxic than the products of the past. As our products come with sophisticated electronics, access to replacement parts and services, service information becomes more critical to fix things. But companies are blocking access to those things. When devices are disposed, they enter the waste stream, accounting for 70% of all toxic waste. Currently, New York State has one of the more comprehensive electronic waste programs among the states, requiring producer responsibility for collecting and recycling. In New York, we trash an average of 23,600 cell phones a day. There's about $19 million worth of gold, silver, copper, and palladium in those cell phones. But not only do the cell phones contain these highly valuable materials, their circuit boards also have toxic chemicals like arsenic, beryllium, cadmium, and brominated flame retardants that are found in the plastic housing, printed wiring, boards, and cables. But New York State doesn't do enough to reduce electronics from entering the waste stream. As China closes its doors to our scrap waste, American policymakers and recyclers must scramble to figure out what to do with the increasing e-waste pileup. One step New York can take to divert electronics from landfills while really helping consumers save money is to pass the Fair Repair Bill. Fair Repair would open a whole market of reuse for customers and their electronics. The pressures, frustrations, and limited access of standing on a line to speak to someone at the Genius Bar, where they don't even serve Appletinis, will be lifted from consumers, okay? Being able to have a device repaired by an independent party or to do it yourself will save time, energy, money, and natural resources. We are not asking companies like Apple to give out the recipe for their secret sauce. All we want is to be able to change out our batteries and make basic repairs cheaply, efficiently, and safely without manufacturers rendering devices inoperable or voiding warranties as a penalty for resisting the pressures to upgrade devices or going outside the monopoly. We've done it for automobiles, and the time for fair repair for electronics is now. Thank you.
Sure. Hi, my name is Jessa Jones, and I was a stay-at-home mom. I was a fixer my whole life, and I live in Monroe County near Rochester. And after being a stay-at-home mom and my kids took one of my cell phones and dropped it in the toilet, I taught myself how to do cell phone repair. And, you know, it's honestly not as hard as you think. In fact, my 11-year-old has even done microsoldering repairs to fix a backlight on an iPad mini. And I have started a business, a local business in my hometown, and now I employ 6 stay-at-home moms in a flexible schedule, and we all fix the devices in our town. And we also do mail-in repair for folks from all over the world that may, like my phone, have gone down a toilet and trapped their precious memories in a device that you can't recover that data unless you can get it to turn back on. We love our business, and I didn't plan to even come up here today, and I happen to be carrying around, because I love repair, this iPad mini. And this iPad mini, you can see, turns on, and it's charged up to 100%. And about 3 days ago, this belonged to a local mom, and her mini was dead. Now, if she goes to the Apple store and says, "Can you fix my mini?" because it's an iPad, the answer is no. Apple will not service any iPad for any reason. They are simply not repairable. So she brings it to me, and we say, sure, that's a common problem. Sudden death on an iPad mini is your charging chip, and open it up, replace it. In order for me to be able to do that repair, I need to be able to get the parts for that. And I would love to be able to just go down to the Apple store in the Eastview Mall and pick up some parts that were OEM certified, been through that Apple QC. I can't do that. So it's very frustrating already that for me to get the parts that I need to do my job, I have to order them from domestic parts suppliers or overseas in China and just hope that what I get is good enough. I have to spend an extraordinary amount of time vetting those parts. I wasted entire weeks this January, beating my head when a batch of iPhone 7 front camera flexes simply made the device boot loop. That's incredibly frustrating. I would love the opportunity to be able to buy some OEM parts. If Apple doesn't want to repair, that's fine, but we do, and our consumers really want to be able to have the option to repair. I'm going to tell you one more story really quickly, and that is I got a phone call earlier this week, and it was from DHL. And DHL is how we import our parts that we are able to get from China. Now, the parts that I get from China are often a hybrid of maybe a OEM screen that was not up to snuff, was then taken apart, resurfaced, and hybridized and turned into kind of a chimera of the best part that I can source for my consumers. I don't want some aftermarket part that has no original components in it whatsoever. So the parts that I try to get are the best that I can get for my people that live in my town. But unfortunately, that means that they are often constructed with pieces and bits of the screen, the part, that have an Apple logo on them because they were mass-produced, intending to at one point go into an OEM screen. The call that I got from DHL said, guess what? We're confiscating your $1,700 part order, and we're just going to throw it away because it has an Apple logo. That is contraband. That is not something that you can have. We're taking it, we're throwing it away, and there's nothing that I can do about that. So not only can I not go buy these parts at the Apple store, but when I go spend all sorts of work and effort to get the best parts I can for my customer, then the manufacturers pressure the U.S. Customs to take those parts and throw them away so that we can't have them either. And that is why I'm here today. I really want for you guys to help us pass this bill finally. This is the third time I've been here. And I really, really, really would love for this year to be the year.
Thank you so much. And can you give your business card to Assemblyman Morelli so he doesn't have to buy any more phones? A couple words? Terry?
Thank you. I'm Terry Lustephen, and I'm with the Elfin Computer Rehab Program here locally in the Schenectady GE plant. 25 years ago, our program got started by some guys who saw computers being thrown away in the dumpster. And they decided that reusing that equipment for our schools and nonprofits would be a much better thing to do than to just toss them out. So our program's been in existence for 25 years. We've refurbished and donated over 12,000 computers in that time period. We're doing about 550 computers a year that we repair. Now, that's all Windows PC based because, as you've heard, Apple is not so easy to get parts for and to work on. I won't bore you with regurgitating all of that stuff about Apple. But another part of this is the fact that not only on electronics, but for various other products as well, you can't get the information you need. I have a tractor, drive around lawnmower, that I can't get an electrical schematic for. It's not available to the dealers. It's not available to anyone. It's considered proprietary. Yet you can't do the diagnostics on finding what the intermittent problem is without that electrical schematic. That's just one example amongst many that you'll hear about today. We are at the reuse level. We want people to donate their old computers to us so that we can refurbish them, repair them, and get them out there to schools and nonprofits who can't afford to buy new equipment. That's what our business is. We're an all-volunteer organization, and we live by repair and reuse. We'd like to see this legislation get passed. Thank you.
Thank you. And with that, we'll be happy to take any questions.
We need to
Oh, you want?
let Jeff come.
Oh, okay.
No?
Yeah.
Come on, Jeff.
I didn't see you there.
Thanks. I don't know. No worries. Hi, Jeff Williams, Director of Public Policy at New York Farm Bureau. Farmers need to fix stuff. They need to fix it fast. This year, in general, specifically, it's been a very late spring, as we all know. It's been pretty cold and rainy. They haven't been able to get out into their fields. So now it is nice, and they need to get the work done. If something breaks, they need to fix it now. They can't wait for the dealer to come out or mechanic to come out 3 days later. They need to fix it now. So this legislation would help them do that. They're used to doing these things. They're very independent, very complex people who work on very complex machinery very easily, and this would help them do so. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Jeff. And the agricultural aspect is one that people don't necessarily think about right away, but it's a very big issue, and we hear from the Farm Bureau, and thank you for your advocacy on that. And with that, any questions? Very good. So we please come out and see the repair demonstration out near the concourse. I'm sorry. Yeah, yeah. Who are you with? I'm sorry.
I'm with CBC, Canadian Broadcasting.
Okay.
And maybe this question's been asked, we just found our way here, but there have been many attempts to have right to repair legislation in various
States, yes.
and all of them so far have, fortunately or unfortunately, depending on who's looking at it, have not worked out. So I'm just curious how you see this particular situation is different. What is it different, and what is your thought about how this is going to develop into an actual law?
Because we're New York. And we're always in front. You're right. I don't know how many states have legislation now. It's 18 states have legislation. It has not passed. We reverse. But remember also, it is only going to take one. It's particularly a state like New York. And then everything's going to follow suit because every manufacturer is going to be thinking about this, and it's going to change the entire landscape of the country. And we got to get it done before the session ends. Yes.
To what degree is it important that it's bipartisan?
It was bipartisan the whole time. I'm a Republican. Well, my colleagues in the Assembly. It has Republican and Democrat Assembly people and senators supportive of it. So, and I think it speaks to the need for it. Besides, obviously, the individual rights of ownership, as was mentioned, environmentally, it's vitally important. The big question is why it hasn't happened already. And don't get me wrong, we have some big opponents in certain areas, and they visit us quite frequently on it. But this is the time to do it because we need to save ownership rights in New York State and protect our environment. Not at this time, but we're talking.
I'm talking to the chair of the Consumer Affairs Committee, and so far has been supportive. We've got to sit down and go through the bill, but I'm hopeful it'll be on agenda pretty quickly.
Good. Well, thank you again.
Yeah,
Don't forget
thanks
to
so
check
much.
out the repair.org demonstration outside. Thanks, Joe.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm probably related. Brooklyn, Queens area, New York City. So like Puerto Rican. So like if you meet,
I'm in Brooklyn. You can work with me at OMB, Office of Management and Budget.
great.
And I will find out OMB. Okay. I will. So you live in Brooklyn?
I live in Queens now. I grew up in Brooklyn. Cypress Hills, East New York. Yeah. So like, it's not a very common name in New York, so more than likely I'm probably related to them.
It looks like this.
Yeah, it's
When
the
I
same
saw
thing,
it, I said,
yeah.
"No, this guy, yeah." But when you say your name, I think I said, so, yeah. Okay, good. Nice meeting you. Good luck to you. Take care. Excellent job. Good job. That's a nice story. That's a wonderful story. Wow.
Not come back down here and see you guys this often.
That's a wonderful story.
You told a great story.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Especially when you're not even confident.
It was good. It was good. I tweeted. I spelled a bunch of names. Well, we'll set up.
Yeah, you gotta set up.
Yeah, that's fine. We brought it upon ourselves. Southie has its own
Yeah.
Yeah, but it also white stuff.
I'm actually now.
My friend took me to a bar in Boston, and the bartender asked for and I was like, you're kidding me, that could really be miraculous. And it's like, anyway, well, thank you for making this.
Yeah.
Thanks for all your help.
Yeah. I'm sure I'll track it down.
Yeah, it's, you're in